Hello, and welcome back to my Haas Driver Career Mode. Today we're in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys didn't see last episode, go check it out. We were so close to our first ever Formula 1 win in Spain, but spoilers, we got a gearbox failure on the last lap of the race. And as you can see, we're having to take our first new gearbox in the 8th or 9th round of the season, which means we're definitely going to be picking up quite a few penalties with the rate that we're going through these gearboxes. We've had 2 gearbox failures and 2 that we've just worn out by ourselves, but now we're getting into qualifying for our first laps here. Canada's not one of my best tracks, but I can go pretty decent on here if I can put a lap together. Now into the final chicane, vault as much of the curb as possible, get as close to the wall of champions as possible as we come across the line to go P3, a second off Sergio Perez and behind Alexander Albon. That is not going to be a good enough lap as we're in P17 as we come to the end of the session, but we are about 3/10 up on our lap. We're definitely going to need more than that if we want to secure ourselves a place later on in Q3. Our teammate gets through. Can we follow him? We're now 5/10 up on our lap. That is definitely going to get us through as we cross the line, and we're P10 and P11 for the Haas boys. We're barely separated by just about half a tenth, and Lance Stroll and his home race is out in Q1. Stroll is having a nightmare season in the Aston Martin, a car that's 5th fastest at the moment. We're 4th fastest. Red Bull lead, very closely followed by Mercedes and Ferrari behind them. So we're looking for some decent points at this race. Maybe a few safety cars might vault up the order. Maybe we can try and get a podium again like we did in Monaco. But for now, we have just got to keep it going as we are now into Q2. As I said before, Canada, not my best track, but still, it's not the worst thing. You see, it's starting to rain, which means we have definitely going to get a lap on the board. Otherwise, we are going to be out in Q2. As you can see, it's raining a little bit heavier now. We want it to rain and rain and rain. We're doing a rain dance in the cockpit as we go P2 for the minute, but the rain is getting heavier. Sainz goes ahead of us. So does his teammate Leclerc when he crosses the line. There he is. He goes up into P3, but it is getting slow as we finish the session in P4. Our teammate P6, and big names knocked out in Q2. Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris are out as they couldn't set a representative time on the softs before it rained too hard. On to Q3 now, and it is most definitely the Inter's conditions as we're really struggling as we come towards the end of our first lap. Haven't driven in the rain on the Inters yet. Haven't really driven much in the rain on this game. I know it's a lot easier to drive in the rain than it was on last game, but I'm still absolutely useless in the wet as we come across the line to set a 1:24.3, which puts us P4, 1.5 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. That is just not going to be enough. We're in P10 by the end of Q3. And we're trying to go out on wets because I thought that it may have been a little bit too wet for Inters in our first run, and we might be able to try and find a little bit of time on the wets. I'm not that hopeful. No other cars have come out onto the circuit. And as you can see, we are gaining a little bit of time through turn 1, but these tyres are so understeery. There's no front end grip as we spin the car. And we are going to be starting P10 in this race as we retire from the session. Not really where we would have liked to be in this session. Our teammate P8, we're P10. Pretty close to each other in qualifying. Maybe we can try and jump him in the race. But if we can keep these positions, those would be pretty decent. Alex Albon in P9. You can see we just set an abysmal lap on the wet. So let's get into this.
Montreal is not only the second largest French-speaking city in the world, but it's home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. The name Villeneuve looms large over this one, but who can write their own legends today? It's one of the fastest races of the season here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, with around 60% of this 2.7-mile circuit taken at full throttle. There are 14 corners to navigate, the very last of which has its very own infamous history and could be the cause of a safety car today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Hamilton, Bottas, Gasly, Hülkenberg, Albon, the engineer, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Ocon, Sainz, Norris, Oscar Piastri, Joe, Stroll, De Vries, Sargent, and Max Verstappen completes the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, so guys, we're going to be starting on the hard tyres for this race. We're up into P9, thanks to some grid penalty, well, one grid penalty ahead of us. And also another notable thing, Max Verstappen is going to start from P20 after qualifying quite badly in Q2. We're on the alternate strategy along with our teammate and Fernando Alonso, so hopefully we might be able to make up a few positions towards the end of the race. We've got pretty good starts on this game so far, so we might not be too hindered by the hards at the start as we're going to go to 3, 4, 5 red lights. As we go green in Canada, pretty decent start for ourselves. Teammate doesn't have a good start, but they got boxed in by the Williams and our teammate. They're going to be side by side through turn 1. Can we maybe sneak up the inside of our teammate? No, he's just going to hold us off as Albon makes a place on Hülkenberg at the start. Can we try and make any moves in space? Defend for Fernando Alonso, who's in P10 now thanks to the grid penalties ahead of us. Can we go for the move up the inside of Nico Hülkenberg? Yes, we can. He gives us the space, lets us through, and we are now free to attack Alexander Albon on the mediums, although we need to try and keep up with him. The Williams is a slower car, but he is on the medium tyres, which means we're not going to be able to keep up with him as much as now into the hairpin. First time through the hairpin. Up we go. We just about sneak it up the inside of Alex Albon, and we're now up into P7. Yellow flags behind, but I'm pretty sure that's because of how many cars are going that slow through the hairpin. Lap 2 now, we've closed right up to Pierre Gasly, our teammate. We're in this pretty big train here, which goes from about P3, which is Valtteri Bottas, all the way back to like, well, pretty much the back of the grid at this point. I think Max Verstappen has just about made up a position on Logan Sargent as Charles Leclerc leads this race from Russell, Perez, Bottas, Hamilton, Gasly, and then ourselves, where we are closing right. And we got Albon behind us, Hülkenberg right behind him, and Alonso and Tsunoda about half a second respectively behind them. You can see Max Verstappen maybe not making the progress that he'd want at the start of this race, only up into P18 by lap 3, although he is definitely going to be looking to charge up the order. Norris and Piastri, two McLarens right next to each other at the back. They're about the 6th fastest car. They should be a lot faster than that. If you look at where Alpine are, they're the 8th fastest car in the R&D chart, which just shows how well their drivers are doing. Because now, can we get the run on Gasly? We're going to slip into the slipstream. ERS deployed a little bit to get the drive off the corner. DRS deployed, and we're going to go round the outside, up the inside of Gasly for the chicane. Can we hold it? Yes, we can. We break a little bit later. We get to the apex first, and we're ahead of Pierre Gasly for the foreseeable future. Sergio Perez is the fastest lap of the race, as now on lap 4 we've closed right up into Hamilton and Bottas. There's a yellow flag behind us. What's happened? Hülkenberg up into P7, and the safety car's deployed and quickly upgraded to a red flag for this session. Let's have a look at what has happened behind us. We're on board with Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. Right behind us, actually, as he spins it on the sausage curve, goes right round. Him and Alex Albon smash each other's wing to pieces. There's a massive pile up behind. Ocon, Gasly's teammate, gets involved with that as well. As you can see, there is a lot of chaos. There are a lot of broken front wings and a lot of dead drivers. As we're going to the 5 red lights, and it's now right on into conditions. There's lights on the way we go. We're immediately to a red flag again. So lucky not to shear off our front tyre there after you go right into the back of Bottas. And this is actually because Gasly's car hasn't despawned. He's still on lap 4, and that's brought out the second red flag. And you see, as we go to 5 red lights again, Lando Norris has actually not been reset from the second red flag. As we get up past him, right next to Lewis Hamilton, as we're in P4 on track, but in P8 in actual on the timing tower. So I'm a little bit confused there. As I think what's happened is because of the red flag, some cars, the VSC is deployed, some cars have actually been glitched up into P1 through 4, who shouldn't be there. Those cars being Stroll, Verstappen, Albon and Sargent have been put on a different lap to everyone else, thanks to the red flag. And you see the virtual safety car is now ending as we lose a little bit of time to Lewis Hamilton because of the delta through the chicane. You're always going to lose quite a lot of delta through there because it's a really slow corner normally, and you can always never make up the delta through there. But we are now about a second behind Hamilton, and Nico Hülkenberg is right behind us. He's definitely going faster in the wet, so we let him through, but he locks it up and goes deep into the hairpin, so he's just losing time from letting Hülkenberg through, and that's probably one of the worst things he probably could have done. He really not helping us in this race as we're now into the pits on lap 11. It is now time for the intermediate tyres. Hamilton is going to come in right ahead, as you can see. Checo Perez in the box. Can we have a decent stop? Can we maybe jump Hamilton in the pits, or at least close into him, up to him a lot? We're out now just behind the Mercedes. We're a lot closer to him than when we came in when we came into the pits. As you can see, I believe that is Carlos Sainz right there on the full wet tyre, so we're going to be looking to get past him quite quickly. He might be going for the dries, although it is supposed to dry up, but it's not supposed to dry up for quite a while at this point, as we're now right on the back of Hamilton. We have closed in a little bit. As you can see now, Sainz causing absolute chaos there. We have to take avoiding action on Hamilton. He then gets it all crossed up on the exit, and we get past him. Little bit of a controversial move, but he lost it on the exit. That's where we gained the time. We weren't trying to overtake him, but since he lost it, he lost so much time going through there. You see, he's almost dropped a second to us already. So we're now going past Carlos Sainz on lap 12. As we are right along the outside, we're going to switch to the inside. Checo Perez. Carlos Sainz is going to box, so we slide it through the final chicane. He comes into the box. We're now right on the back of Checo. Can we look to be making any moves on the Mexican in the Red Bull? He was in a net P2, I think, after Charles Leclerc. So if we can get to net P2, that is going to be very decent. I don't know what's going to happen with the runners and put a lap ahead. I don't know if they'll be allowed to keep the lap ahead, or whether they will be demoted back to where they're supposed to be. George Russell with a 5-second penalty up ahead. I don't know how he's got that 5-second penalty. I'll check the race director afterwards, but that is... You don't really see the AI getting many 5-second penalties. He might have been battling into the pits, or maybe he's caused the collision. I don't think he was involved in the massive pile-up at the middle of lap 4. But now we're on board with Carlos Sainz, whose day is now over for the Spaniard in the Ferrari, as he's had a massive engine failure going down the final straight, and that is his day done. As now that deploys the virtual safety car. It is ending though on lap 14 as we get set to go right behind Checo. Once again, Charles Leclerc about 4 seconds up the road. You can see Sainz still on the side of the track, but the VSC has ended, so obviously don't need the VSC anymore to clear up that car. We're right on the back of Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc 4 seconds ahead of us. There's a car right up ahead of us. I believe it's the Williams of either Alex Albon or Logan Sargent, as we have a massive slide into turn 1. But this car is really holding up Sergio Perez. It is a Williams, and I believe that is Logan Sargent. I believe Sargent has the yellow T-cam. Perez going for the move into turn 3. They're fighting side by side. We slip up the inside of Sergio Perez and we get past the Mexican. Can we get past the Williams as well? No, we have a little bit of a snap in here. Back comes Sergio Perez. We're going to stay ahead. And now we've got the Williams up ahead to try and get past. You can see Stroll is a minute and 14 seconds ahead of us as he got glitched from the red flag. We're past the Williams. I believe that is actually Alex Albon. So we are now up past Alex Albon, but he is technically a lap ahead of us. So we might get blue flags here. I doubt we will since we just overtaken him, but we have now really got to close up that gap to Stroll ahead as hopefully maybe they'll get put back. I don't know, to be honest. I'm kind of not expecting them to go back, and you can see blue flags behind as Hamilton has got past Perez. Perez must have issues as now on lap 19 Alex Albon up there on wet, a minute and 8 seconds ahead of us. Logan Sargent, I believe, is in a net P2 at the moment. Verstappen's in P1 and Stroll is in P3, as you can see here. Oh no, Albon's in... What? How's this happened? Albon's in P2, Verstappen's in P1, Albon's in P2, Sargent P3, Stroll P4, Leclerc P5, we're in P6, Perez P7 right behind us, Hamilton, and then Hulkenberg is right on this pack here. Bottas, and you see Bottas pulling out the way for Alex Albon and Logan Sargent and Lance Stroll as they've been put a lap ahead, and they're right in this pack. They're slower cars, but they're right there as they've got blue flags for the cars ahead, meaning that we're going to gain a bit of time on the cars behind us. They pull out the way for blue flags that really they shouldn't ever have to pull out the way for. And you see Hamilton pulls out the way for the Williams, both Williams and the Aston, and that is really ruining his race with Sergio Perez. As you see, they're just in P2. Verstappen's got 6 seconds in the lead from the Williams. Is now on lap 25. Our teammate Nico Hulkenberg is in the pits to fit the dry tyres. We're going to be coming in at the end of this lap to put on a new set of soft tyres. Maybe make up a little bit of time on the cars ahead as DRS is now enabled, which shows that it's definitely time for the dry tyres in this race. Perez 9 seconds ahead of us, Hamilton 23 seconds behind as we check the weather report, and he's definitely, as he says, we're on the cusp. So we're going to put the soft tyres on. They should definitely get to the end of the race. 10 laps on the soft tyres is definitely not going to harm us that much. We said that we're going to be boxing this out. A new set of softs as it was wet in Q3, which means we definitely have those softs to play with as maybe Charles Leclerc stays out for another lap. Let's see what we can do on a new set of softs. We go right to neutral as we enter the pits as Haas are one of the only teams to actually be gambling on the soft tyres. Our teammate was in first. We're in now. A new set of soft tyres go on. And you can see we've got 6 DNFs in this race. I think that's the most DNFs that we've had this season so far. So, interesting race or just crashy race? I don't know. But we're now right out on the softs. A little bit sketchy to start off with, but you can tell there's definitely the grip to start pushing around this track. You can see they definitely have a lot more grip than the inters. The wet conditions definitely still here, but we're definitely faster, I'm pretty sure, than the inters. You see Perez pulling away from that us a bit, but he's in a Red Bull. We're not quite used to the conditions yet, as now on the end of lap 26, Perez into the pits. Leclerc 28 seconds ahead of us. He stays out once again. We're definitely going to jump Sergio Perez in the pits. Albon's still up in P4, 44 seconds ahead. He hasn't boxed yet, so he's going to be a lot closer to us. As you can see now, the track is most definitely dry. We've gained almost a second on Charles Leclerc in the first set of the race. Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton putting on the medium compound tyres. They don't think these softs are going to last till the end of the race. We definitely do, as we are now getting ready. We're in P6. Charles Leclerc is a net P1. 26 seconds ahead of us. If we can make up this gap from being on the soft, it's about a 20 to 22 second pit lane. If we can close up another 3 seconds on Leclerc. We will be, well, without the glitch cars, we would be a net P1. And I'd definitely take being P5. You see, Alex Albon is now pit. He's going to come out side by side with Valtteri Bottas in this race. Valtteri Bottas, P14. He was running P4 at the start. The Finn has had an atrocious race, as Tsunoda is right on the cusp of scoring AlphaTauri's first points of the season in P10, but he does have Alonso and Russell right behind him. Charles Leclerc out of the pits now. He's 7 seconds ahead of us. He's had a monster pit stop. His team have done an amazing job there to stay ahead of us. As there you can see Leclerc in the pits, thanks to my view here. 6 seconds, 7.5 seconds ahead of us. As he once again is on the medium. 7 laps left on the medium tyres. I don't know really why they're going on the medium tyres. There is definitely the tyre life to get the softs to the end, and they'll definitely keep their performance for 7 laps, their relative performance for 7 laps. Albon still 8 ahead of him, P4. Sargent could be on for a podium in this race. It's now on lap 29. There's yellow flag ahead of us. Let's see what this is for. They're going to be right ahead. There's only one car ahead of us, and that is Charles Leclerc. Both Ferraris having issues in this race, and you see his car is sloped to one side. Kenny's got a rear right puncture. What a shame for the Monegasque. That is going to put us in what, without the glitch cars, would be a net P1 in this race. So I will definitely take that. As you can see, he comes into the pits. He's going to put on a used set of soft compound tires. Maybe he didn't have any new sets left from qualifying, as that's quite a shame for the Monegasque. You can see we're going purple on the softs on lap 30. We're trying to set the fastest lap of the race. We're completely draining the batteries. We come across the line, say 1:13.337, which is the fastest lap so far in this race. Charles Leclerc on a lot fresher soft, so I expect him to take the fastest lap. Max Verstappen takes it away from us, going 4 tenths faster than us. And as you can see, up ahead, Sargent and Albon. That would be massive points for Williams, as Max Verstappen wins the race. As we go on to the final lap now, we're not going to be able to catch Albon and Sargent. Perez behind us, 5 seconds behind us on the mediums. He's not going to close into us in time. As now, this is where we think about what could have been. We're technically in a net P1. All the cars ahead of us were glitched a lap ahead of us, a lap ahead of everyone. We've closed right up to Albon and Sargent. There's a real asterisk on the championship now. These cars have been glitched a lap ahead. Max Verstappen has basically been gifted a free win from P20, which is a little bit like, of course it happens to Max Verstappen. P20 to P1 thanks to a glitch under the red flags. Not really what you want to see, as we're now coming towards the end of our own final lap, as we're going to come home to cross the line. It's going to be P5 for us at the checkered flag. As wait, that's not Red Bull. Those are Haas. Those are Haas mechanics. Wait a second. I got to see it. Did the lap cars? We won! Oh my god, we have won our first race in Formula 1. We have won for Haas. I think it's literally, we got promoted to P1. Lance Stroll, I believe, is P2 or P3. And Max Verstappen, P2. It literally just took us from P5 to P1. I mean, I'll take that. Yeah, it basically just put us up into P1. I'll take that. Our first ever win in Formula 1. And maybe a little bit of edgy circumstances with a lot of drivers just getting positioned around. But we will definitely take Haas's first ever win in Formula 1. Our first ever win in Formula 1. We emulate Lewis Hamilton taking our first ever win at the Canadian Grand Prix in our rookie season. Can we go on to be as great as Lewis Hamilton? As that is just an amazing result. Our teammate gets P9 And then you see Yuki Tsunoda, I just got to follow this, is P11. Just like he's been doing in real life, getting P11 over and over again. Haas now P4 in the Constructors' Championship. We're P7. We're right behind Carlos Sainz. We're really not that far off the cars ahead of us. We could be fighting for P4 in this championship if we keep up these performances. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed. If you have enjoyed our first ever race win in Formula 1, please like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.